Hi, this is Vikas Singh from Horizon, and today's video I'm going to discuss you about failover cluster on SQL Server 2014. So in this video, basically we are going to do adding failover cluster node in SQL Server 2014 cluster step by step. So if you want our help to setting up the SQL Server failover cluster for you, you can contact us. Our contact details is given in below description. So let's move to demo environment. Here's my demo environment. I'm using 4 virtual machine in this demo. So the first machine is Win2K12 DC01, which is my active directory domain server. You can see my domain name is horizon.co and my DC name is Win2K12 DC01 and it's running on Windows Server 2012 R2 operating system. Here's the machine. You can see active directory and DNS rules is installed. If I go to local server, you can see my domain name, server name, and the IP address, which is configured 192.168.1.254 for domain connectivity. My next 3 virtual machines is basically a SQL Server cluster node. You can see the first machine is second machine is SQL node 01 and node 02. So these two machines are already having SQL Server cluster running. So if you go here on node 1, you can see this machine is a part of SQL Server cluster. So if you see here, we have a Windows failover cluster running with the name of Win cluster, and the node 1 and node 2 are part of this, and we have a SQL Server cluster running on Windows cluster, which is SQL Cluster 01. So let me show you from here. So I have opened the failover cluster manager. If you want to open, go to tools, failover cluster manager. You can see I have one cluster running with the name of Win-clusters in my Horizon domain, and node, you can see my SQL node 1 and SQL node 2 is as a part of this cluster. And if I go to roles, you can see the roles SQL Server role is running here on node 1, and this is can be moved on role node 1 and node 2. If you want to see how we have configured this cluster 2 node SQL Server cluster, you can go and see our last video. Here we have configured the SQL Server cluster failover cluster with 2 nodes. So now you can see it's pending, and now it's moved to node 1, and same I can move to node 2 from node 2 to node 1 SQL Server cluster role. So now it's bringing online on node 1. So it's still pending. Now you can see it's running. So these two SQL Server node 1 and node 2 is a member of SQL Server failover cluster, and now we are going to add this SQL Server node 3, which is in my cluster failover cluster. So to do this, we have a machine node 3. If I go to the next slide, you can see step by step adding cluster node in SQL failover cluster. So you can see in the rename SQL-node 3 and join this machine in domain and restart. So I have already done this part. If you want to see, you can see, go to local server, you can see SQL-node 3, and this is a member if in horizon.co, and you can see I have joined this machine is a domain account which is SQL admin, and the same account which I am using on UMI. You can see I'm on domain account horizon.sql admin, and here you can see my other details like login server, login domain, everything. So this is good, and now we can follow the next step, which is install Hyper-V role on SQL Server node. So why we are installing a Hyper-V role on this machine? To create a converged network, which the same network infrastructure which we have created in our last 2 nodes, which is, here you can see we have a teaming enable, network teaming enable, and we have a converged network with a 4 NIC. So on a node 2 also you can verify we have a NIC teaming and we have converged network. So we're going to do the same. So I'm going to install the first requirement. To create a converged network, we need to install a Hyper-V role. So I'm going to add role and features, role based feature based installation. So Hyper-V is basically a role, so role based, and here's the server SQL-node 3. Click next. I need to select Hyper-V role, add required features, and leave the everything default. We don't need to set anything here. So select here, restart the destination server automatically if required. Yes, let's require we require a reboot to enable the hypervisor on this machine. So we are going to install. So the installation will take less than 1 minute to get the installation done. After this, the server will reboot automatically. So you can see now installation is almost 80% done. And now machine is rebooting. It will take one more reboot. So Hyper-V require a 2 reboot during the Hyper-V installation. So now the machine is rebooted. I am going to hit a Ctrl+Del to log into this machine. And now you can see the Hyper-V role is installed. So wait for a second. And you can see installation succeeded on SQL-node 03. So Hyper-V role is enabled. Next, our task is create a NIC teaming and converse network. So here's the script which I have used in the last two uh, nodes to create a converse network. So same my script I have on my node 3. So basically why we are doing this, to make a same network infrastructure as we have on cluster node. So I'm going to create a first teaming which is converse vNIC. On a server manager, go to local server. Here we have a NIC teaming. I'm going to click on disables to create a new team here, and we need to put the name of team and select the all for NIC which I want to participate in this NIC teaming. So now if I go here, security center, you can see the team is created with converse NIC, and all for NIC is going to participate in this converse vNIC. So it takes some time to get the all for NIC active. So we need to wait for a few seconds here. Make sure all 4 NIC is connected with LAN cables and they are in active status after creating the team. So now here we go, you can see the status is okay, so we can go ahead and close this. And now if I go and refresh this, you can see all the vNIC is, we have only converse vNIC and all the physical NIC is gone. So now we can go ahead and run this script to create a converse network. So I'm going to PowerShell ISC, run as administrator, browse. I'm going to browse my script which is saved on desktop, so converse network. And by using this script, I'm going to basically create a 4 virtual network adapter. First one is domain, second is ISC, third is cluster, and fourth is the live migration. So run this script. I can see soon it will create a 4 virtual NIC here. So now you can see we have a vEthernet domain, vEthernet ISC, cluster, and live migration. So everything is done. So now we can go ahead and close this, and we have a 4 NIC virtual network adapter now on a server. Here you can see all are getting IP address from DHCP. So next task is configure IP address on all 4 virtual NICs. So I'm going to do this now. So the cluster, for the domain I need to configure IP address in a domain range which is 192.168.1.243, and I'm going to put the DNS address here. And for ISKC I'm going to put the class A IP address which I'm using in my other nodes. So it's going to be a 243 and class C subnet mask. Click OK. And for cluster it's going to be a 2. So 192.168.2.243 and class C subnet mask. Live migration, we need to configure a class C also on this. So 192.168.3.243 and class C subnet mask. So now we are good to go, and we can refresh to verify the settings. And also if you want to capture, we can capture the setting and we'll match the setting with the node 3. So here we have, you can see we have a cluster NIC which is running on 2.43, so it's good, and domain NIC is running on 192.168.1 series, so it's good, and we have ISKC 10.10.10 and the live migration 192.168.3, so good. So we can close this. Now we can go on next step, which is install failover cluster and multipathing on SQL node. So I'm going to do this. Go to manage, add role and features, click next, and this is a role feature based installation. So we need to go on feature page, and we need to select the failover clustering, and here we have a multipathing IO. So select and click on install. So this installation will take less than 1 minute to get the installation complete for both the tasks. So after this we can go ahead and enable the MPIO and restart the cluster node. So succeeded, installation succeeded, and now to enable the MPIO we need to go to tools and click on MPIO, and we have a discover multipathing. So we are using the ISKC initiator on this demo environment, so we need to go to select the add support for ISKC devices and click add, and now you can see a reboot is required to complete this operations. Reboot now, yes, we can reboot now. And we need to click on login. Now the next step is discover ISKC target and add disk to SQL node 3. So to discover ISKC target, go to tools and open the ISKC initiator. And yes, I want to run every time on a server reboot. Here you need to put the IP address of the target. So in our case the target is running on DC. You can see the local Ethernet which is 10.10.100, which is running ISKC cluster for providing the disk to clusters. So click on quick connect. So basically it's not getting connected because the machine is not authenticated, so I'm going to add here properties and initiators. You can see the node 3 is not added, so I'm going to add node 3 here. So now node 3 is added. So make sure you have a permission to add a cluster node and a storage. So now we can go ahead and click on quick connect. So now you can see it's connected, and I'm going to disconnect because I want to connect as a multipathing. So enable multipathing, click OK. Now if I go to disk management, you can see two disk is there. So I'm going to move the drive, CD drive, as a Z letter, which we have done on to last SQL node. So bring this disk online. So it's going to take a D drive name, and now we need to bring this. So it will take some time. So after adding the disk, you can go ahead and install SQL Server on our node 3. So the first we need to add the node in Windows Failover Cluster. So to do this, I'm going to on my SQL node 01 and add node. Here we have a click next, and we need to select the node like SQL node 03. It's going to check. So here you can see it's selected, click next, and I don't want to run any validation wizard for now, so click finish. Now you can see waiting for notification, SQL Server fully functional member. Now you can see you have successfully added one or more cluster nodes on the cluster. So go ahead, finish this. Now I can go and reboot this machine to make sure it's a member of cluster and fully functional. So after this, I can install SQL Server on node 3, which is our target server, which server we are going to add in our SQL Server cluster. So hit Ctrl to log in. Now I'm going to mount the installation media for SQL Server 2014. Yes, so downloads, we have SQL Server 2014 Service Pack 2, which we have installed on our node 1 and node 2. Double click the setup. Now we need to click on install, and we need to select add node to SQL Server Failover Cluster. I'm going to install in free mode, which is evaluation mode. Click next. I accept the license terms, click next, and now it's going to check the prerequisites for a failover cluster node. So it will take some time. This is basically global rules. So now we can click next and Windows update. So now it's checking the installation setup file. Now we can click next, and you can see it's giving the information about the cluster node. So we have a node 1 and node 2. It's participating in SQL Cluster 01, and the features which is installed you can see here, and the instance name is MS SQL. So good to go. Click next. It will take you to the network configuration. So here you can see it's saying the cluster IP address SQL Server. If you go here and do a ping SQL Cluster 01, you can see this IP is replying. So it's replying on domain nick. So good to go. Click next. Now it will ask for credential for service account, which we are using on SQL 1 and SQL 2. So put the credential and click next. Now everything is passed. We are good to go and to click install, and it will initiate the installation for SQL Server Cluster node. And after the installation we need one reboot, then we can validate the SQL Server Cluster on moving. So we are done with step 9, which is install SQL Server Cluster on node 3 as add to cluster. So once the installation is done, we will proceed with the verifying SQL node cluster by moving SQL cluster node role to this node. So installation will take around 5 to 10 minutes to get the installation done for SQL Server 2014 on this machine. So now we can see the installation is almost completed. So now you can see the installation of SQL Server 2014 failover cluster is done. Now we can go ahead and close this. And finally I'm going to take one reboot for this server. After this we can go ahead and test our SQL Server role by moving to node 3 or node 3 to any another node. So wait for a few seconds here. You can see node 3 is down now. So hit Ctrl+Del to log in. Wait for server manager. So now you can see the server is up. Now I'm going to on node 1 where I have opened the failover cluster manager, and if you go on nodes you can see the node 3 is also having current vote 1 and assigned vote 1. So now we can go here on roles, and I'm going to right click on my SQL cluster and move and select node. We can see we have a node 2 and node 3 all over. So I'm going to test on node 3, which we have just added to SQL Server. So now you can see that it's taking the services offline, resources offline, and now current owner, you can see the owner node is SQL-node 3, and it's taking the services online. Now you can see all the services are online on node 3. So we have validated the configuration also. So this is all about the adding failover cluster node in SQL Server 2014. So thank you for watching, and if you have any question related to this, please contact us. Our contact details is given in below description. Thank you.